Alright, so what is going on YouTube? Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my TBI 4.3 to TBI 5.7 swap. I'm going to try to leave everything that I don't mention in the description box. I mean, I'm going to try to cover everything, but if I do forget something, be sure to check the description box. I'll link all my parts down there and what ideas I came up with to make it work. But let's go ahead and jump into it. This motor came out of a 1990 GMC Sierra 2500 series. It's a pretty quick little motor. I mean, it's probably definitely like a 25-30 horsepower upgrade in torque as well. So I mean, it's pretty quick. It'll spin the tires on this thing pretty easy. First, I'll talk about motor mounts. I have the box over here so you can look at it. It's called Transdapt, part number 9906. It's pretty much a 2.8 mount. At least the part that mounts to the frame, it's pretty much a 2.8 mount. And then the part that mounts to the block, I really don't know if you'll be able to see it, but pretty much what it does is it extends, like the mount kind of extends forward so you can mount the 350. But if you look up those Transdapt part number 9906, you know what I'm talking about. But I had to use those mounts. The next thing was exhaust. What I initially went with was headers, was the Headman headers. But when I had them on, they were like resting right on the brake lines over here, and it was just getting too hot. And my spark plug wires are over here, and I just didn't want to melt my wires. I'm already dealing with header issues on my other full-size step-side pickup truck, and as you can see, I'm wrapping those headers right there. So what I ended up doing was I went on eBay. I got these 3rd Gen Camaro Manifolds for like 50 bucks or something like that. Only thing that sucked is I bidded on them and I had to wait like a freaking week and a half before they actually showed up. But I ended up going with the 3rd Gen Camaro Manifolds. The only thing is you will have to figure something out in terms of how you're going to connect it to the rest of the exhaust. This side's pretty easy. This side is like slightly above the frame. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like right there, slightly above the frame. I had to have the exhaust shop make me like a custom Y pipe and weld it on there. And as you can see, it's right there. Comes down. They did good work, in fact, and they actually did it in like a few hours. So I mean, if you can't figure something out, I would recommend going to an exhaust shop to get it all patched back up if you do end up cutting the exhaust or whatever. But other than the mounts and the manifolds, I pretty much reused everything else. This is still the stock V6 4.3 computer. I actually reused all the 4.3 sensors with the exception of the throttle position sensor and the IAC sensor, which is the idle air control sensor. And here's actually the TBI that was on there. I reused the 4.3 TBI at first just because the throttle connections are a little different than the V8 ones. So I was using this one, but it was running a little weird, like I said, because I still had the stock IAC sensor and the stock throttle position sensor, and I think that might have been throwing it off a little bit. But as soon as I swapped the V8 TBI on there with those two new sensors, it ran like a champ. I reused all my 4.3 accessories and brackets. The 4.3 accessory brackets, I guess, are slightly smaller, but they still bolt up to the 350 just fine. No problems at all. So if you can reuse your 4.3 brackets, I would. If not, you can probably still reuse your 5.7 ones. I was just told that the 4.3 brackets are slightly smaller, so it actually benefits you to reuse them. But I mean, this is the stock AC, stock alternator, even the stock water pump. Because to me it looked like the 4.3 water pump was like slightly smaller, and you know, room's everything. Like having enough room is everything for this swap and to make it work. I'm trying to think what else that I used or reused. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I pretty much, like I said, reused everything that was off the 4.3. I don't know why I can't talk all of a sudden. But let me go ahead and take this off real quick. So, oh, I'm tripping. Here's the Here's the TBI. This is the V8 TBI. Like I said, originally I had the 4.3 TBI, but switched it to the V8, and it's ran better ever since. But otherwise than that, all the sensors are still 4.3 sensors. I did use a 5.7 coil, 5.7 EGR. Those are actually all brand new parts I had left over from another build, so I ended up using them on here. I guess we'll get to cooling. I ended up going with two 12-inch electric fans. I had to wire them up to be push fans because I just don't have any room up front. As you can see, some people, you can see my radiator zip tie. Some people actually cut this core support just so they can shove the radiator back in the core support, and then it gave them more room to run their mechanical fan. I just didn't really want to run a mechanical fan, just because if you're going to be doing a V8 swap, might as well upgrade to electric fans, get a few more horsepower out of it. But I mean, this is the stock 4.3 radiator. This is a 5.7 hose that I had to cut, and it kind of just barely routes around the alternator perfectly. And then the lower radiator hose is a 4.3, is the stock 4.3 radiator hose. I think I had to cut like an inch off or something. I also went with 170 degree thermostat. It's summertime, or it's getting ready to be summertime pretty much, and it's getting hot over here. So I went ahead and went with a cooler thermostat, electric fans, and it keeps it cool. I really like how these things work. I'm trying to think what else that I went ahead and reused. But I mean, like I said, this is a pretty easy swap. Like, it took me 1 day to pull the motor, and I was already test fit in the V8 like that same day. So I mean, this is a very simple swap if you know what you're doing. You got maybe a couple buddies and you got all your parts ready to go. This is a swap you can pretty much have done quick and just be able to knock it out. Like I said, I had pretty much everything done within 1 weekend, or under 1 week, and it took me like a month to completely finish it, because like I said, I bid it on the Camaro Manifolds, so I had to wait for those to come in. The electric fans, had to wait for those to come in. The exhaust, had to get a hold of an exhaust shop, set up an appointment. Oh, and the other thing is fuel lines. I had to cut my fuel lines just because they didn't reach, so I ended up just cutting them, and I ran rubber hosing, and I just double clamped them, and it runs just fine, doesn't leak. And I've also done it on another truck like that, and I've never had any issues with it. But that's pretty much it. Like I said, you'll need the motor mounts, or at least in my case, I used the Summit Racing Transdapt part number 9906 motor mounts. 3rd Gen Camaro Manifolds, reused the 4.3 ECM and harness, reused the radiator, accessory brackets, went to electric fans. Also, I had to extend some sensors because on the 4.3, and actually I have the 4.3 right here, the knock sensor's in a different location. So on the 4.3, as you can see, the knock sensor's in the back of the engine. Well, on the 350 or the 5.7, it's on the passenger side. So I actually had to extend, because the harness was back there, I had to extend that plug all the way to over here so I could plug it in. Same with the temp sensor. The temp sensor on that one, I'm trying to think where it's at. I don't know where this one's at, but okay, yeah, I remember now. The temp sensor on this one, I think, is on the passenger side. I mean, you have one up top, obviously, but the other one is on the passenger side. And on the 350, it's on the driver's side. And so I ended up extending the plug over here. I probably could have just moved the sensor to that side, because I think you can mount it on either side. But what I did was I just extended the sensor over there. In order to run a V8 TBI, you also have to get the V8 plug-in right here for the throttle position sensor, because this sensor is different. As you can see, it's like I mean, they're both three-pronged, but it just looks a little different. This is the V8 one. The V6 one is, what do I do with that V6 TBI? I don't even know what I do with it. But anyway, the V6 TBI throttle position sensor is a little different than the V8 one. And like I said, I actually ran it with the V6 TBI on here, but it was just running weird because I still had the V6 IAC sensor and throttle position sensor, and it was just running weird. It kept wanting to stall at times, so I ended up putting the V8 TBI. And the reason why I had to do that was because the throttle position sensor is different. So I ended up putting the V8 TBI on here. I actually have to figure something out with my throttle cables. Right now they're pretty much just zip tied on there, but I mean it works. But I'm probably going to order some adapter pieces to actually mount those on properly. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, I know I've seen online a lot of people said you had to use the 5.7 ECM. You don't. This runs just fine. I've driven it all over town. Haven't had any issues with it. I do have a slight exhaust leak on the passenger side, but otherwise than that, it runs pretty good. I'll go ahead and fire it up for you guys real quick. I do got to give it a little gas when I start it. See if I have my keys. It's kind of a mess in here. See if I can find my keys. But I mean, she fires right up. It runs like I came from the factory like that, so it's pretty cool. You can see my fans are on. I mean, this thing runs nice, man. It runs like I came from the factory like that. We'll spin them tires quick. Yeah, that's actually my exhaust ticking right there, but it runs pretty good. I didn't reuse that big ass ball that was right there. Took that shit out. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section if you got any questions. Alright, so another thing I forgot to mention in this video, but I figure I'd add it to the end real quick, was that my steering shaft is actually from a 96 Jeep Cherokee. I mean, I didn't reuse the whole, I didn't use the whole 96 Jeep Cherokee shaft. What I did is I cut the Jeep Cherokee shaft in half, then I cut my S10 steering shaft in half, and then I basically combined the two. So the top half is actually from a 96 Jeep Cherokee. And as you can see, there's plenty of room right there. And then the bottom half is just a stock S10. So I just wanted to mention that, just so that way I didn't forget anything. But please like, comment, subscribe. Till then, see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.